Hi, and welcome to the McTaggart Attack Podcast. I'm Kevin McTaggart. Thank you so much for downloading the podcast today. If you could please do me a favor and subscribe, share, and review the podcast wherever you listen to it, whether it be on YouTube or any other podcasting platform. I almost said plodcasting platform. I don't know what a plodcast is. Anyway, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe, share, and review. Thank you. What did I want to talk about today? Wanted to talk about, I've been watching the entire second season of Dark Side of the Ring. It's this show that's on the Vice network, and it was very interesting season. They tell basically dark stories from professional wrestling. They shine a light on the tragedies and other not so nice stuff, but what happens in the world of professional wrestling. It's in the second season. I caught it this season. I didn't watch it last season, but I've watched a few of those on YouTube. And it's very interesting. It talks a lot about how some wrestlers died. Like, I know the first season talks about Bruiser Brody's death, and I didn't really know anything about that, and I thought that was interesting and sad. And like Gino Hernandez's death, like there was an episode about Gino Hernandez. Gino Hernandez was a wrestler for World Class Championship Wrestling in Texas, and I remember watching him on reruns, and then I watched a current episode of WCCW back in like the early 90s, because it's not a thing anymore, but I was wondering where Gino Hernandez was, and I realized he was dead. And I never really knew how he died. And I believe the episode pretty much made it clear that he... What was it? He had a lot of coke in the system. And that's how he died. No one was trying to kill him, I don't think, or anything. He killed himself, sadly, which was awful. And it talks about a lot of deaths. Like I said, Bruiser Brody, Dino Bravo. They talked about Dino Bravo in the second season. And I didn't know how he died either. And that was a mob hit. Spoiler alert. I'm giving a lot of spoilers about Dark Side of the Ring, and I apologize about that, but I'm not excited about this series, and I hope that there's a third season. I mean, there's got to be more stories than this. There's got to be more stuff that they can tell. But yeah, it's a very interesting show to watch. Like this season, they talked about Chris Benoit. That was the season premiere this year, was Chris Benoit, when he killed his wife and son and then killed himself. Yeah, that was terrible. And that was a great episode. Teared up watching that, because, like, yeah, I think I already talked about it in an episode. Right, I think. Somebody check. I don't go back and check what the fuck I've been talking about. But they had the season finale last night. As I'm recording this, because I'm recording this on... I'm recording this Wednesday afternoon. And this will be out Thursday morning. But the season finale, I hope it's not the series finale. I want this to continue. Don't pull a Watchmen. Actually, pulling a Watchmen would have been ending after 1 season, and they've already gone 2, so they're already better than Watchmen, even though Watchmen was a great series, even though it was just 1 season. Still bitter about that. Anyway, the season 2 season finale of Dark Side of the Ring talked about the Owen Hart tragedy. Owen Hart was a it was WWF back then, professional wrestler. He was Bret Hart's brother. There were I think they said that there's 12 brothers and sisters of the Hart family. And all the boys went into wrestling, became wrestlers, and all the wives married wrestlers. That's pretty much how it worked. Because, Davey Boy Smith and Jim Neidhart are part of the Hart family because they married into the family. That's how Natalia is a member of the Hart family. And, but yeah, Owen, I remember when the Blue Blazer showed up in 89, 90, I think. And, I had found out that was Owen Hart. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Bret's brother, that's interesting. And I liked the character as a kid. I did. And I thought he was, he had a lot of good aerial moves and things like that. And it was great. And then the gimmick kind of went away, and then he became, he wrestled as Owen Hart, which was good. I think he teamed up with Jim Neidhart as a tag team. They were the New Foundation or something like that, because they needed to do something with them. But the episode last night dealt with Owen's tragic death. And I remember watching that Over the Edge pay-per-view, which is a cryptic, awful coincidental title of a pay-per-view where a wrestler dies by falling 100 feet to the fucking ground. But yeah, I was at AJ Sports Bar in Tallahassee, Florida, which I don't think is a thing anymore. AJ Sports Bar, not Tallahassee, Florida. Tallahassee is still there. And I'm watching it, and I think there was 1 or 2 matches, and then I think the Owen Hart, the Blue Blazer was returning. The Blue Blazer was going to be in a match. And I liked what they were doing with this gimmick. I did. At the time, I liked what they were doing. Because, it made it... I felt like it was going to turn Owen into, a face, and I think he would have done a great job as, a babyface, good guy wrestler, but kind of wacky. And I thought that was fine. I thought he was a great wrestler. He was. You loved him if you were supposed to love him. You hated him if you were supposed to hate him. And I was really looking forward to seeing what he was going to do with this revised Blue Blazer gimmick. And I even think he did an interview that earlier that night too. And then I think it was after last night. They'd say it was after one of the tag team matches, and I just remember watching it, and they're just focusing on the fans. They're not looking at there's no cameras on the ring, and then Jim Ross is talking, and it's just Jim Ross talking, and you don't know what the fuck is happening. And all you know is that Owen Hart fell. There's some sort of accident with Owen Hart. This was before social media. You know, if there was social media when this happened, and if there were camera phones when this happened, oh my God, that would have been awful. And also, there would have been so many videos of it of people showing it happening. Can you imagine if there was social media during that time in 1999? But yeah, and like, I remember watching the pay-per-view and oh my God, there was an accident. No one fell and he was being taken to the hospital. That's all we were told as the fans watching it. And then I think just before the main event, they announced that Owen had died. And at that point, who fucking gives a shit about the wrestling match? Like, my God. Yeah, that was, it was crazy. And I remember, like, this was still in the midst of the WWF, WCW Monday Night War. And I was a staunch supporter of the WWF. I was Team WWF all the way. Okay? And I was. And so, like, I defended them and how they responded to this. I'm like, you know, NASCAR races would have gone on. This would have gone on too. But I just remember that. And another thing I remember about that time frame was, because that was May of 99. That was like late May 23rd, I think is what it was. And I went to a house show in Tallahassee, Florida on like May 7th or something like that. And I'm like watching the show in the stands, and I look over to like one of the curtains, and like I could have sworn that I saw Owen Hart like peek his head out to look at the crowd and like look at the, you know, the ring and stuff like that. And then I think people even like saw him do it. So they like, he went back behind the curtain, and I just thought that was interesting to see Owen Hart peek his head out of the curtain. And then 2+ weeks later, he's dead. And it's fucked up. What happened was, for those of you unaware and don't want to look it up, he, as the Blue Blazer was going to come down from the rafters off a rig with ropes and stuff. And apparently the clip, the small little clip that they used wasn't good enough for the 240-pound wrestler, and he fell into the ring. I think he hit his head on the turnbuckle and fell in the ring and died. And last night, one of the things from the documentary, like Jim Cornette, he said that people were saying that like his last words were, he was telling people, look out. He couldn't save himself, but he was trying to save as many other people that he could. And another thing from that documentary that I heard from the documentary, that like when Jim Ross had to announce, you know, that Owen was dead, they didn't know anything. Him and Jerry Lawler, they had no fucking clue. Jerry Lawler knew, though. He was pretty sure Owen was dead, because he went backstage. He went into the ring. He went backstage, and then he came back, and he did not look happy. He did not look good. Something like you could tell. I remember, like, well, I wanted to. I don't know what was happening. I didn't know what was going to happen. Maybe he was just going to be paralyzed. You were hoping for the best, whatever the fuck that means. And he's dead. But the longtime producer, Kevin Dunn, is telling Jim Ross, hey, have you heard what happened? And Jim Ross is like, no, I don't know anything. You've been out here the whole time. Like, He's dead. And we're coming back in 10, 9, 8. That's not cool. What a fucking dick Kevin Dunn is. I saw on Twitter this morning that he was getting a lot of hatred on Twitter, and deservedly fucking so. Yeah, I know it was like 20 fucking years ago, but seriously, what a fucking dick. And like back then, 20 years ago, I thought they should have kept going, but watching it again, and maybe I have 20 years of life experience, the cops should have stopped that show and just investigated it. Seriously. They should have stopped the show, and because it was a crime scene investigation. Not necessarily a murder. Some people probably think it was a murder, but no, it was a crime scene investigation. The blood was still on the ring. The blood was still on the floor of the ring. They didn't change the aprons back then, I don't think, as much as they do now. The ring was damaged from Owen Hart falling into it. It's fucking terrible. They should have stopped the show. But it was a pay-per-view, and it was making a lot of money. Fuck that. And, I didn't really have... I've always thought that Owen Hart should be a Hall of Famer, and, I didn't really know, the whole story, and, I know that a lot of people were saying, oh, Martha Hart won't let him in the Hall of Fame, blah, blah, blah. Martha Hart is his wife, his widow. And after watching Dark Side of the Ring last night, I firmly understand and agree with the position of Owen Hart's wife, son, and daughter that they will never allow him to be inducted into the Hall of Fame of the company that killed him. He'd come down from the rafters before, but they had a safer rigging system, before. And then this time, they wanted it to happen faster, so they used a different one, a smaller one. And the clip, Martha Hart has the clip. And it's ridiculous. And they gave him little instruction. They should have never fucking done it. From what I understand, the only reason why they even, had him do the Blue Blazer gimmick was because he didn't want to do an angle where he was going to look like he was cheating on Deborah McMichael from Jeff Jarrett. They were doing some sort of cheating angle. And, he didn't want to do that. So they're all right, well, let's have you do the Blue Blazer gimmick instead. The WWE absolutely sucks at creative. Oh, let's just rehash what we've done before. And in this case, it literally killed a man doing that shit. And I don't even know if I want to, watch the WWE anymore after watching this documentary about something that happened 20 years ago. It doesn't feel right. I did a podcast episode a couple weeks ago about Vince McMahon possibly being the devil. Well, yeah. Pretty fucking sure, because, Martha Hart sued the WWE and a few other agencies, and then Vince McMahon sued her back. Wrestler dies on his watch. He countersues the dead wrestler's wife. Why? Because he wants to protect his fucking money. You've got to be fucking kidding me with this shit. So fucking stupid. The WWE sucks. So fucking stupid. I don't know. I don't really. I know it happened a while back, but based on what I saw on this episode And there have been other things that I've watched on Dark Side of the Ring, like the Jimmy Snuka episode where like Vince just threw money at those Hershey, Pennsylvania authorities, and they like did nothing with the murder. The murder that Jimmy Snuka committed. He covered up a murder. He may or may not have somehow murdered Owen Hart. We don't know. But he's the fucking devil. Then he has like a press conference like the next day or later that day or something. And like the way he acted was just so smug and just so mean to all of the reporters. You had a wrestler die. You have to be as nice and as like solemn as fucking possible. And you act like a dick to everybody. I'm pretty sure that's how Trump took his press conference lessons from Vince McMahon. Is probably what happened. But yeah, this whole fucking, this Dark Side of the Ring series has been great, and I hope that they keep doing it, and they need to shed light on more of the dark stories of professional wrestling, and I just, after watching it so far, I'm not sure, I'm still probably going to watch WWE, because there's nothing else on Monday. There's nothing else on Monday nights. So, there's that, and then, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But it's just, my God, something has to be done with Vince McMahon. I mean, seriously, he is a evil, conniving piece of shit. Oh my God, who only cares about his money. Oh my God. Yeah. I think that's all I got. Well, another thing actually I thought was interesting how Jim Cornette, who was a manager of Owen Hart for a period of time, he's usually a bit of a jerk in most of these episodes, or whenever he talks, really, but, like, he seemed genuinely upset about this whole thing, and if you can get Jim Cornette to tear up, then you know that this is a wrong thing, and, like, just the way that the WWF handled this whole Owen Hart situation, the way that they, with the rigging system, and then the countersuing of his widow and family, and like, oh my God. I'm just glad that, like, his family is doing well. I don't mean his, brothers and sisters, because they stole legal documents from the widow to give to the defense. But yeah, I mean, like, Owen's wife, son, and daughter. I'm glad that they appear to be doing well. That's good. That's the one redeeming thing I got out of this episode. Because other than that, it was a fucking tearjerker. Anyway, I think that's all I've got about this. I will do more episodes where I talk about how awful the WWE is. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. Please remember to do me a favor and subscribe, share, and review the podcast wherever you listen to it. And in the show notes, I have quite a few things. I have, you can buy a t-shirt. You can do I have a Fiverr gig where I will make spreadsheets for you. I also, have a free 3 months for 10% Happier, the meditation app I use. And there's also, if you want to start a podcast, or if you want to switch your podcast somewhere else, you want to switch your podcast to Podbean, there's a link you can click on where you can get a free month to start off using Podbean. And, I think that's all I have. Oh yeah, and the Facebook group for the McTaggart Attack Podcast. Not the Facebook page, the Facebook group. If you like listening to the podcast, join the Facebook group. That link is also in the notes. And that's the bottom line. If you smell what the McTaggart Attack Podcast. Seriously, this went like almost 25 minutes? What the fuck? Oh, is cooking.